Hi everyone, this is Anil. In this video, we'll talk about a utility called DG, which is Deployment Genie. So what does this utility do? It will give you recommendations when you are doing a deployments. And if you see any collisions as part of deployments, then this utility will give you recommendations on what action has to be taken. So how does it work? So imagine there's an update set called UP1. It has three customer updates, CU1, CU2, and CU3. Now you have deployed this update set from dev to test UP1. And as part of this deployment, you have done a preview of the update set. And when you have previewed it, you have seen that there are three preview problems for all these three customer updates, right? We call it as PP1, PP2, and PP3. So for these preview problems, you have compared the code and you thought first one you will accept, second one you will accept, third one you will skip, right? So basically, when you're skipping it, you're retaining the code in test and you're accepting the code for the first remote updates for first and second. Now, that's how you have done the deployment from dev to test. Now you want to, I mean, there's a UAT that happened or testing that happened, and you want to now promote the code to higher instances. Let's say in your environment you have dry run, or if you don't have dry run, you're directly doing it to production. Now let's take a scenario where you have a dry run. So in dry run instance, it is a clone from production, which means the code base is exactly same. And also we're making one assumption that your test is frequently cloned from production so that the code base is also very, very close to what is there in production. Now, when you're deploying this code from test to dry run, you will install this utility in dry run instance through an update set, and you will configure something called as DG source, which will point to test instance because this is the instance from which you are also sourcing the update sets. Now you are about to deploy it to dry run. So you pull the code and you do a preview, again, same thing. And now, because again, we assume the test is same as production, so you'll encounter the same preview problems. In this case, you'll only see CU1 and CU2 because CU3 you have skipped, which means you retained the code in test. Now, you want to understand what action has to be taken for these two preview problems, right? So you run this utility by executing a UI action called get recommendations. So when you do that, it will check these two preview problems in test instance, and then it will tell you like what action was taken in test instance, and then it will show that across each of these preview problems. So in this case, because you have accepted them in dev to test, it will tell you that you can accept them in test to dry run also. So now you can use this, make use of this information, and then you can make an informed decision whether you want to accept or you want to make any other decision based on the code, right? So that's how it applies to test to dry run. Now let's say you're doing it from directly from test to production, right? Because there is no dry run. In this case, again, same thing. So you in production, you deploy this utility DG, and you configure the DG source as test because you're directly sourcing it from test. And then you preview the code once you pull the update sets. When you preview it, again, you see two preview problems, PP1, PP2 against CU1 and CU2. And once you preview it, you will execute this UI action called get recommendation. It will go and compare this preview problem using four attributes: remote update, remote table, description of the preview problem, and update set name. Using these four attributes, it will compare this preview problem with test instance, which is your source, and then it will tell you what action you have taken in test. In this case, it is accept, so it will tell you that both you can accept. And if you're sourcing it from dry run, then you have to repeat the same steps. Your source instance will become dry run, and then again you source update sets, you preview them, and then you do the get recommendation, and then you'll see that it will give you recommendations. So that way, what you're doing is you are not using any Excel or any other method to track this deployment steps. I mean, you can still track it, but you are getting a live recommendation here. So otherwise previously you were tracking an Excel sheet and so on, but now you're getting a live recommendation. So that way you're making this deployment process repeatable and smooth. So yeah, that's about this utility. We'll do a quick recap. So this is a utility called DG, Deployment Genie. It will give you recommendations when you're doing deployments and if you experience or encounter any collisions as part of the preview. So how does it work? It will verify the collisions or preview problems from the source instance, and then it will tell you what action was taken as part of deployment to source instance. So you can take the same steps during the production deployment or direct deployment. Thank you for watching. This is Anil, and this is my channel, Varan Awesome Now. Thank you.